Happy 4th of July to all and welcome back to Next Level Sim Gaming. American Truck Simulator is an amazing game, and since 2016, since SCS launched Euro Truck Simulator 2 way back in 2012, both games have evolved to become not only two of my favourite games, but favourites of millions of PC gamers worldwide. Now both games are rated as overwhelmingly positive on Steam, with ETS2 selling over 13 million copies worldwide, and American Truck Simulator selling over 2 million copies on Steam. What is even more amazing is that SCS have also sold over 80 million DLCs for ETS2 alone. Now if you want to play American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator 2, I'm going to make one simple statement right here and right now. There is no better way to play in VR than on Pimax. Simple, let's dive in and see what's changed in version 1.55 on ATS right after this. And the fantastic team at Pimax have some incredible offers for all Next Level Sim Gaming subscribers on both the Pimax Crystal Light and the Pimax Super, using the discount code NLSimgaming. But you might be on the fence about getting a Pimax device as you already own or have owned a VR headset. So, from July the 7th, Pimax have an absolutely unbeatable offer by simply providing proof of purchase of an eligible VR headset. For example, if you've owned a Quest 2 in the past and take up this offer, you can get an incredible $80 off a Pimax Crystal Light. Or, for example, a Vero XR3. Once again, if you've owned one or have one and provide proof of purchase, you can get $100 discount off a Pimax Crystal Light. Now this offer will run from the 7th of July, and if you want to see what you can expect moving from a Quest 3, for example, to a Pimax Crystal Light, check out my Quest 3 versus Pimax Crystal Light video linked at the end. It really does not get any better than this, and thank you again to Pimax for providing these absolutely incredible offers to the VR community. Without further ado, let's see how incredible ATS is on the Pimax Super. So here we are in American Truck Simulator, and this is version 1.55 on the Pimax Super. Now, I have to say that this is probably the only video that you will see on YouTube featuring this combination, because I'll tell you why. Because I have done the guide on American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2 exclusively for Pimax. Now, having done a number of guides previously on the Quest 3, the Quest Pro, I have also played on the Pico 4 and a number of other VR headsets. There is no better experience than on the Pimax Super and the Pimax Crystal Light. Let me tell you, and let me guarantee you that. If you want to play this game or Euro Truck Simulator 2 on one of these two VR headsets, then the guide is at the end of this video, because I'm really pleased to say that not a lot has changed in this recent update, apart from things that have made it better. So we're going to go over those in this video, and we're going to tell you exactly what's changed. But first of all, I just want to say a few thanks to, first of all, Studio Form Creative, who have sent this absolutely amazing Apache free. It's got the top strap, it's got the ocular interface, the facial pad, and it also has a rear pad as well. This is our latest update for the Pimax Super, and it is an absolute game changer. The actual distribution of weight on the headset, everything is absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm really grateful again to Studio Form Creative for sending this out, because this has just been absolutely amazing, especially for this game, which I've been absolutely loving over the past couple of days as well. Now, we're going to talk about the changes under the skin, and first of all, the big thanks again to Paulie's Custom Skins, who made this incredible custom trailer combination. I was also going to say custom truck combination. He's also made one of those as well, and once again the links are in the video description to the Steam Workshop page of Paulie's Custom Skins, so give Paulie some love, download these skins, they look absolutely incredible. And you can also change the actual colour of your truck, you can customise it with various modifications as well to your liking, and nothing summarises Pimax more than a desire to push technological limits to the edge of the possible. That is what is going on in this video, because we have the best version of American Truck Simulator on any VR headset, period. Now, I have spent relentless hours refining the settings on this game to run at 200% scaling, and as you can see, it's absolutely stunning. Not only are you going to be able to run this game with all the bells and whistles, the next modification I want to mention here is the John Ruder Highway Killer W900, which is what we're going to be using in this game. Now, as you can see, this is absolutely stunning. Really absolutely amazing. I'm just going to flick the lights on just there as well, just so we can see that. The level of detail in John Ruder's mods is absolutely unbelievable, as you'll see in a moment when we dive into the truck. Another mention I have to say is Project Next Gen. So once again, the benefits of using the Pimax Crystal Light or the Pimax Super are that you can run all the bells and whistles because it's direct DisplayPort. This is OpenXR reshade, and this is Project Next Gen 1.55.12, and this is the latest update. Thank you once again to Damien for getting this out so quickly in reaction to the 1.55 update, which took us all by surprise, admittedly. We've got a few other modifications running here. So we have JBX3. So as you can see, the sky boxes look absolutely unbelievable, and this game is just something else in VR, it really is. Now, I'm a huge American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator 2 fan, and I play these games a lot, perhaps too much, probably more than any other games in the whole collection. And I've got to say that another thing about Pimax is that sets them completely apart from any other VR headset manufacturer is that they get behind the communities. Now, Moza have recognised the massive growing community of virtual truckers out there, and Moza have got behind making some amazing hardware such as the custom steering wheel, the indicators, and I own some of those. But featuring in today's video, and I've done a review of this wheel as well, we've got the Camera C5, which is an amazing entry-level direct drive wheel, which is fantastic for a desk setup or a sim racing setup. So I've just using this in this video because I've actually been using this and really enjoying it over the past couple of weeks since I've received this unit to test. Once again, links to all of these things are in the video description, and you can grab yourself an amazing discount on the Pimax Super, Crystal Light, Camera C5, Studio Foam Creative Pads, and lots more. And once again, thank you to Anton Audio for the Mod Mic Wireless, which gives us amazing sound quality while making these videos as well. Now, as you can see, this is American Truck Simulator, almost as good as native desktop. We are absolutely on the pinnacle of virtual reality here. I make no secret about the Pimax Super being one of my favourite VR headsets. Well, the favourite VR headset, the Pimax Crystal Light, once again has a really special place in my heart, and I love both of them for different reasons. But this is just absolutely visually amazing, as you can see. So without further ado, we're going to dive into the actual cabin, and this John Ruder modified truck is an absolute masterpiece, it really is. This is a Highway Killer, again by John Ruder, and also I have a number of workshop modifications in use as well. There are links in the video description again to a number of these things, and I'll also link as well my Steam workshop link as well, so you can see what modifications I'm running if you wish to do so. Now, Pimax are pretty unique out there in the respect that they care for gaming communities. I mentioned that Moza have been pretty quick to identify that the trucking communities are a real growing group, and it's becoming a really fantastic environment because we have the best community ever on X. We have SCS who are making some fantastic and amazing quality upgrades to this game consistently, and we have a number of amazing people who are creating these awesome modifications to make this game essentially photorealistic. Now, we're just going to have a drive around today, and we're just going to show you how this game plays and feels. But STS have done it again. They've updated the loading system on this game. So remember, this is a huge open world game that's been projected, and it does perform generally quite poorly in VR normally. But remember, obviously, all the extra work that's been put into this game and the guides that's provided to you, and there are profiles that you can simply use in the guide that's linked at the end of this video, the original guide that's still completely valid for this game, and you can then simply just copy and paste those into your game configuration file and watch the guide again. It explains everything if you haven't already seen that in there. But now this is just absolutely awesome. It really is amazing. So again, Pimax, they are super interested in the communities. They have really got behind the ATS and ETS2 project, and we have a group that's been created on Facebook as well, and it's really a group that's fairly new, and again, it'd really be appreciated if you could join that Facebook group, upload your screenshots, join the community, share your settings if there's anything that you found that's made the game experience better. But I'm driving along here, and I've got to tell you that this is just getting so good now. With the modifications and everything else, I'm driving along, and you couldn't wish for anything more. You really couldn't. If you love ATS and ETS2, then there is no better way to play than on the Pimax devices. Especially with the guide settings and everything else, you're getting a good stable frame rate in the game. Now remember, this isn't Automobilista 2, this isn't iRacing. It's a little bit like Microsoft Flight Simulator, because you are going to have a locked frame rate in game. You're going to be getting around 45 to 60 FPS if you are running high level modifications and 200% scaling like I am here. But with those settings adopted, it's an incredibly smooth experience. Now I've had a group of people actually testing this in the environment on different graphics cards, so thank you again to Richard, especially from the US, who has been testing thoroughly on the RTX 4090 previously, and also Baz as well from the UK for testing also on the 4080. And between us, we've obviously agreed that the settings make this game run fantastically. The asynchronous loading that's been introduced by STS has made a real difference. Now, I've been playing this over the last couple of days, and I really wanted to ensure that this was represented in the best experience possible. Now, as you may have seen on previous videos, I've been having some issues with recording because the Pimax Super is such a high resolution headset and even pushes my PC to the absolute maximum of its limits when recording in OBS and running gameplay as well. Now I have a 2 PC setup, so basically the recording is being done separately, and it's made a tremendous difference. I'm back to playing this game, recording and showing you this, being able to use a multi-camera setup and also play it as it should be, at the way it should be, and not being affected in any way. So what you're seeing is a real good representation of what I'm seeing in the headset. Now, of course, you can't see what I'm seeing in the headset, but let me tell you what I'm watching back on screen when I've recorded these videos and then going back into the headset and seeing this is far superior. This is a true 4K experience, and remember, this is one of the first Retina level VR headsets available, the Pimax Super, and I'm driving this along, and sometimes it's hard to remember that this is a game, because I had this on. I have these amazing DMAS headphones now on the Pimax Super, and I'm driving along and I've got the haptic seat on, the HF8 haptic seat, and for that it's giving me feedback as well through the seat, and I'm driving along, and this is so realistic. I'm actually almost falling into a false reality, because I'm imagining almost like being on an American highway driving along. It's that good, I can assure you of that. Now, the Pimax Super is an incredibly bright VR headset, so I've had to knock the brightness settings down, and I've been playing around with and tweaking the settings, and I've found a really nice balance. A balance that's really well defined through the graphical modifications that you can see, and a balance that just lowers that down just to make it a little bit more realistic. In terms of temporal anti-aliasing, I'm using the Snowy Moon modification still that's mentioned in the previous video. However, SCS have also updated their TAA modification as well, and I'm pleased to say that I've deactivated the Snowy Moon modification, and it's not a million miles away. Don't get me wrong, Snowy Moon is still where it needs to be, I think, for now, but SCS are clearly obviously learning and moving in the right direction, and it's an amazing place to be, really, when we have modifications or people out there modding the games that are really showing the developers where they need to be with them. Now, it's made me laugh actually, because a lot of the feedback when I saw SCS announcing the 1.55 update, there were a lot of people actually saying, can we have better VR support? And I think that they've actually realised this. So we are now, I'm really pleased to say, one step closer to native VR support as well. Now, previously, as mentioned in the previous video, you would need to activate the game on a beta participation format in order to get it working. Now, you can still do that. You will see in Steam that there is still a pull down menu, and you can still opt into 1.55 Oculus OpenXR Open VR mode. However, it just appears as Oculus now. And there's actually now a native launch option. So when you launch a game such as Automobilista 2 or iRacing, you'll see there's options available. It'll ask you if you want to launch it in DirectX 11, if you want to launch it in OpenXR or OpenVR mode. Now, that is a launch command, but we can actually enter a launch command into the actual game now that will negate the need to actually download the beta participation mode and actually launch the game directly. Now, that's really handy, because one thing that was quite frustrating to a lot of users was if you actually do play the game in a flat screen environment. Now, I do occasionally play the game with the Tobii eye tracker, and it was incredibly frustrating having to change everything around each time. I actually had 2 profiles created that I'd saved, and I just simply swap them around. But for users who maybe aren't as adept at doing that, it was a really frustrating experience. So I do play on flat screen environments sometimes. Being able just to simply remove that launch option or enter that launch option into the launch options, as I'm bringing up on screen now so you'll see what I'm talking about, that is an incredibly fantastic move to making us essentially native VR now, which is where we're at really, because that's what that's done. SCS, we contacted SCS, i.e. myself and the Pimax team, in order to try and work with them a little bit on the game and introducing us as ambassadors really for the VR side of things. And there are a large amount of VR users out there, and it went a bit quiet, and I understand why now, because obviously it's always been beta participation. They couldn't really guarantee the performance on the variety of different platforms out there, and as I know from doing a number of guides on the Quest previously, it's really difficult to get running in VR, and it's really difficult to get running generally on a non-DisplayPort headset, because remember, Direct DisplayPort is running directly from a GPU. If we can get the settings balanced high enough to make the GPU do the majority of the work and not the CPU, we will get better VR performance, and that's how it works in ATS. But it's a little bit heavily biased towards CPU usage, this game. And largely that's to do with the age of the actual engine of the game. So the settings have managed to balance it quite nicely, but back onto headsets such as the Quest and also the Pico 4, the best you are going to get out of this is using virtual desktop, and you'd have to use a USB-C connection, and with that, there are caveats, and it's a lot of, let me just say, faffing around to get the game working. All you have to do on the Pimax Crystal Light and the Pimax Super is put the settings in that I'm showing you in the guide, and simply set it and forget it. You pick the headset up, put it on, launch the game, and you are in it. You are in this environment. Now, with the previous headsets I mentioned there, the Quest, the Pico 4, etc., you probably spent half an hour just messing around with settings, and by that time you can't be bothered playing the game. If you are a working person and you are coming home and your time is limited, then the last thing you want to do is come home and start messing around with settings on games, and eventually, before you know it, you'll put the headset on and you'll end up falling asleep at the wheel, and that's happened before to me, believe it or not. Another thing I want to mention as well is that Pimax, not only have they really got behind the community element of these games, and maybe too enthusiastically initially, because obviously we need to build that awareness in the community as to how good these actually are in VR. Many people are very tightly glued to multi-monitor setups if they're playing these games enthusiastically, let's say, and previously they may have had a look in VR and just thought it's just too much work. Now it's not too much work, it's simply put those settings in, put the headset on, and away you go. And you don't need the multi-monitor setup. Guys, when you got this, you don't need the multi-monitor setup, as I can show you just looking around there. You know, when you are maneuvering, when you are parking, when you're doing anything, you just simply cannot top this. So as an example, I'm going to put this window down here. And we're doing a fairly hefty speed here, but I can put my head out that window, as you can see, which is just incredible. Can you do that on the multi-monitor setup? No. Can you look around and see the back of a cabin and nearly crash the vehicle? No. Once again, it's a typical example of the flexibility that you have in VR, and it just makes it such an incredible experience. I have actually parked the truck and actually put my head out the window to look backwards, you know, which is sort of something you would do in real life. And if you want next level immersion, then this is the place to be. Now, mentioning obviously those previous headsets I just mentioned there, the Pico 4, the Quest, for example, another amazing promotion that Pimax are doing at the moment is, if you have one of those headsets and you produce your proof of purchase, use the links in the video description and full details are there. You can get, for example, up to £80, $80. You can get a redemption back on those headsets, and that is an absolutely incredible offer. Now, here's something really interesting. So we've got a helicopter flying above, and we've got an incident going on just here, or something's happened just there. It's little things like that, just little details and the amazing things in this game that just make it absolutely incredible. So as well as asynchronous loading, we've then obviously got the improvements to the game. Generally, it feels a lot more fluid than I think previously. I've actually tried, I mean, I'm on an environment here which is obviously an open highway. You've seen it as I was just coming out of the towns and cities just there. You know, even in heavily built up areas like California and Las Vegas, etc., you know, the game plays absolutely incredibly. It plays really well. And you can push the boundaries a little bit more if you wish. You can obviously increase the frame rate from the locked frame rate that we're using just here. I play a locked frame rate because of the consistency element. Whether you be in an environment that's heavily built up or open road, you've got a real nice consistent smooth frame rate. If you were to unlock that frame rate, and once again that's within the guide itself, and in the video description you'll see there is an additional video that shows you how to unlock the frame rates based upon the settings I'm giving you. Once again, it's how you want to play it, you know, and it's what works well for you and what works well for your system. But if I'm just looking just to the left of me here, you can see that the scenery is flowing past, the detail on the vehicles is absolutely fantastic, and it looks absolutely incredible. So what we're going to do now is we are going to move on to show you the actual settings used in the Pimax Super, which are slightly different to the Pimax Crystal Light, which is referenced in the original video guide. So again, it is just as good. There have been some significant improvements to the game. and it plays absolutely fantastically in both the Pimax Crystal Light and the Pimax Super. Now again, the Pimax Super, the quality of the lenses in this device are just exceptional, and it just looks stunning, absolutely visually stunning. If I look up to these skyboxes just here and look at that is just like reality. It's getting that good. So again, revisit the link at the end of this video, which will show you the original guide, and it will show you exactly how to get your game up and running like this. But it's one of those games you have to try. Get involved with our Facebook group, links are in the description again, and it'll be really great to see your involvement and feedback in that as well. So let's take a look at the settings used in Pimax Play. In device settings, we're using the 50 ppdq LED variant of the Pimax Super. First of all, we need to change the refresh rate to 90 Hz, the brightness level to 85, and as mentioned, the brightness within the Pimax Super is very bright, and also once in ATS, the game also is bright as well. I have eye tracking disabled here because once we put the headset on for the first time, it will set the IPD adjustment and that's then locked. We can then disable eye tracking unless it's been used in the application. There are no other settings we need to change within device settings. And under the Games tab, we have the render quality set to a custom value, which is 0.85. We have both Pimax OpenXR quad views disabled. We have the Pimax central priority rendering disabled. We have smart smoothing disabled. We also have hidden area mask disabled, and all the other options are as they were. Under the General tab, we have the Pimax OpenXR runtime enabled, and we have the headset as audio output device because we're using the DMAS speakers in this instance. And under the Advanced tab, the only thing worth mentioning is that the pass-through is disabled. Remember, we are playing a seated game, so there is no need to have pass-through enabled. So thank you again for watching, and here is the guide to both ATS and ETS2 linked here. And remember that incredible offer using the code NLSimgaming, and here is the comparison video from the Quest 3 to Pimax Crystal Light, and you can add a Pimax Crystal Light to your VR collection and getting an unbeatable $80 off from July the 7th. Now all your likes, subscribes and shares really help me bring you more amazing content, but until next time, take care and I'll see you in the next video.